time yet, so he's going to be a complimentary Gio Bernard to your,
Yeah, and what a complimentary, too. He's going to get a goal line touch. But, yeah, Spencer Ware took over that game.
Yeah, and I think he's going to continue. If he gets enough touches, he gets yards. His fumble problem is a concern. But, again, when you look at who he's facing, 26 against the rush, the offense centers around the running game. I think you could easily see another 100-yard, touchdown, one touchdown, 6-point game. So I'd expect, or I'd really like to see, and it wouldn't be a stretch to get at least 20 points from both Spencer Ware and Jacquizz Rodgers. Again, a lot of I don't find much strength in the running back matchups as a whole, based upon if Shady McCoy was in, we would have more to look at and maybe have more of a concern with there. I like DeMarco Murray if you're wanting to spend some money. That's a great play this week.
Yeah, it is. It's really high dollar at $8,700. I do think he's got workhorse written all over him this week, though. I really do.
Oh, he does, but when you look at his overall production, only twice has he gotten, and I don't say this like only, but he's only broken 23 times out of 6. Other times were close, but can I get that out of Jacquizz Rodgers and Spencer Ware this week and save?
I think you can.
DeMarco Murray's $3,700. I can get the exact same production, I feel, out of each one of those guys.
No, I think you can, and I think you're on the right track with that. And you notice a lot of DeMarco Murray's. He had a couple touchdowns that were dump-offs inside the 5-yard line. One was a jump pass in week 2, I think. So those things are really deceiving as far as stat patterns. Yeah, I like the idea of spending a little bit less on running backs, specifically this week. I feel like the Spencer Wares of the world, the Jacquizz Rodgers. I'll tell you who I'm not afraid of this week is a Jeremy Hill, where in the past I would be. This week at $6,800, I think you can get something out of him against that Cleveland defense.
Exactly. That's the direction that I want to go with, because obviously nothing's ever a sure thing, but why do I want to waste my money? Because the matchups just aren't there. Last week we had the opposite. The matchup screamed for the expensive running back, and we had to take him, and we were rewarded for it. So
you were, but you couldn't avoid it. You had to do it. It was spelled out last week. You had to spend that money on those players, and it was okay to do. I will suggest this to the Mike Gillisley point. I would wait and see on plugging him into a lineup right now. At $5,300, it's a nice number, but I would play wait and see with him because all of a sudden, hamstrings are tricky. That's something that lingers for 8 weeks or goes away in an hour. I would be afraid to see Shady is in the cryovac right now, feeling much better, and then Sunday at 1 o'clock, all of a sudden he's on the field trucking a division opponent. I would just sit tight with Mike Gillisley, but everything else you've talked about here, I think that the low value on running backs this week is probably the direction you want to go.
Well, they're saying the out status, I was just reading it here to confirm, that the out status for him hasn't been confirmed by the team.
Right. He's just questionable.
But they're reporting that he's out from various sources. Josina Anderson and others are saying that he's out. So
is she? Okay.
If he is even that kind of borderline, I wouldn't start him.
No, I wouldn't either. It's not worth the start, but it's not worth jumping on Gillisley either.
Right.
I don't like the travel there. I don't like on grass, although Gillisley's a Florida boy. Want to believe he was at one point with the Miami Dolphins as well. Is that true?
I don't know. I think it may be. I think I remember.
I'm going to have our producer give a look at that and get back to me on that here in just a second. I do like the fact that when these players go back and have an opportunity to go in front of a crowd of a team that drafted them, then they have the ability to go back and stick it to them. That's usually sometimes there can be something to that if they're given the opportunity. And again, Rex Ryan is that head coach that'll give that guy the opportunity to go out there and blow up a former team or a former head coach, something along those lines. So once I get that information back over to me, I will. And there it is. The Miami Dolphins chose Gillisley in the 5th round. So that all of a sudden, if Shady's out, that makes Gillisley even more interesting, especially with Rex Ryan as his head coach. Could give him the opportunity to stick it right up their ear.
Yeah. still not a big fan of it. But again, if you're doing the 5, if you're doing multiple lineups, then give it a shot. You
yeah, something to look at. Again, on the road, don't love it. But again, I get it. Tell me about Tevin Coleman. How do you feel about him and Devonta Freeman this week?
I like both of them. It's they're not risky plays. You've seen in weeks past that both of them go off, so you can get away with it. We've seen that San Diego's 26th in points allowed to running backs, but I really think there's going to be some more air action than ground action. So I would think that I would expect and not to get to wide receivers, but I like Julio. So I would maybe be more apt to do Tevin Coleman than Devonta Freeman in this instance.
I would be too. Coleman's a little bit more interesting out of the backfield. He had that monster day against the Denver defense that was sincerely no joke in Denver. 4 catches on 6 targets, 132 yards and a touchdown. Blew up for a monster day. I think his longest was about 65 yards. So the guy's pretty exciting when he gets the football. I just like the fact that they're going to try to use him out of the backfield and create another target underneath. San Diego seems susceptible to that.
Keep in mind, San Diego, while they have given up 8 touchdowns, they're only giving up 3.8 yards a carry, whereas they're giving up 270 and 280 yards and 10 touchdowns in the air. So I think they're more apt to get taken in the air. So like I said, that's why I like the wide receivers, specifically Julio.
And we're going to move on to wide receivers. I'm just going to say quickly about that San Diego-Atlanta game. I like everything about it as it being a point-scoring game.
Yeah,
it's got total written all over it, high total. There's no reason why this game shouldn't be 35-31 or somewhere in that ballpark. They're on the turf, fast track. San Diego's been able to score points. I like everything about it. You know what? It seems like, though, I'm leaning everything towards the Atlanta side of the ball. I'm not leaning anywhere near Charger players. But if you want to plug a Phillip Rivers in there, I'm not afraid of it. If you want to plug a Melvin Gordon in there,
just about
not afraid of it.
If you're
so let's jump on. Again, we're going to try to guide our time as best we can here. Let's jump into wide receivers.
Sure.
Right off the bat, I know you want to talk about Julio Jones while we're on that.
Yeah, I think Julio at Atlanta, I think he went off. I think he's going to continue to go off. Obviously, he's probably the most talented wide receiver in the NFL as far as being able to be covered. That and Antonio Brown, him and Antonio Brown. And I like the matchup. He went off last week. I think he's going to do it again.
Can I say that I think Julio Jones is probably the most talented wide receiver I've ever seen in my entire life?
He's a beast.
Dude, and I'm not an Alabama honk. I'm not a Falcons fan. There's no homerist about this. I love Jerry Rice forever, but Julio's special. You can't cover him. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, great hands, can jump. Everything about that guy is he's an absolute monster. Calvin Johnson was great. I think Julio was probably more of a weapon.
Yeah, I was thinking that as you were saying that, and it's hard to disagree with anything you said. He's definitely, there's very few wide receivers I can ever think of that when you
that
watch
big.
Him, Randy Moss.
Randy was pretty special too.
Totally unstoppable. That totally changed games. That if the quarterback decides he has to throw the ball every single time to this one guy, the guy's going to catch more of them and get big plays and get a touchdown. That's Julio. Being able to burn people the way he does. No, Calvin Johnson used to muscle up and jump up. Julio, not to take anything away from Calvin Johnson, he was fast too, but
sure.
Julio's ridiculous. He's a freak.
Yeah, everything about him is just is so special. And I almost feel that every week in daily fantasy specifically, you have to start him every week because of the potential breakout. I know he's costly as hell, but him more than Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown's a great player, but Antonio Brown's going to give you the 52-yard week. You're going to have – Julio's going to give you the shit week, too. It's going to happen. But more than not, he's going to give you a monster week. He's going to be heavily owned, but you could catch him that 1 week where he's not. And just a special player. I just think he needs to be incorporated in the lineup as often as possible, and this week is one of them. Jason Verrett, the Chargers' #1 defensive cornerback, is out. Eric Weddle is no longer roaming the backfield for the San Diego Chargers. This is a different secondary there, and it's one at home that Matt Ryan should eat for lunch. He really should.
Yeah. And because with the way that we structure our team, we can certainly afford him. So, we want him in there. The next guy that I like is continuing on with super studliness and matchups.
Okay.
I like A.J. Green, Cincinnati at home against Cleveland.
Okay. I have a concern about him, but go ahead.
What's that?
I have a concern about him, but go ahead.
Okay, well, everything about this matchup screams the same thing as what we were just talking about with Julio Jones. I don't think that they're 26th against the pass. I expect the same thing. That's why I like Andy Dalton. So I'm going to put my eggs in the big basket, if you will, with these two studs. And actually, I have money left because of what we've done for another stud or two.
Okay.
So I like him.
Let me jump in there on the A.J. Green side. I have a concern that if Cincinnati were to run away with this game, the air show stops. Now, does that mean that to run away with it that didn't take A.J. Green, 164 yards and 2 touchdowns to help him run away with it? No, it doesn't mean that. And that's a highly potential that happens, especially if Joe Hayden is out again. Not that he's much of anything, but he is their best defensive back. I don't dislike the A.J. Green call. I just have some concerns with that cost. If it turns out to be the Brandon LaFell show.
Well, here's the thing. He hasn't scored in since the Miami game. So in 2 games he hasn't scored.
2 weeks, and that was a Thursday night.
In each game he has at least 8 targets. So regardless of the outcome so far, he's getting his looks. And I just think with the futility of Cleveland's secondary, I'm not worried about Joe Hayden. I mean, the guy's good, but she's kind of getting up there.
No, the only thing that scares me about that game is the potential for that game to get run away with. That's all that scares me. I'm frightened about Dalton this week for that same reason. It's a division game. It could be a 24-13 final. It's Central, we used to be the Central. The AFC North games just scare me for that particular reason. So I'm going to fade the Dalton A.J. Green train and probably stick on a running back play there. But that's just my side of that.
Yeah, if I thought, and I know that the running backs, not to go back on running backs, but if I thought that Jeremy Hill, I know they have great matchups. I'm not necessarily, they're not the guys that jump out. That, Jeremy Hill's got one double-digit minutes.
Oh, he sucks. No, he's been lousy.
So I still think the offense is going to have to filter through. I mean, how are we going to get that 20-something points? How are we going to get that blowout? Yeah, it could be through the defense, but they're not playing as well. So I still think that, like you said, the Browns are a scrappy team. I think they'll do enough to force, A.J. Green to perform.
Well, and again, I'm not here to talk you out of anything and vice versa, and we're here to bring the listeners as much information as we can so they can take all that we hear here and go put it together and put together a lineup that can win them a bunch of money. And the best part about it is for our listeners, however, Mike, is they don't pay us a nickel for it. It's all free. Just listen. That's the best part, is that we're not charging anybody. We'll go on. Okay, so from A.J. Green and Julio Jones, go on to your next receiver on the list, and I'll try not to.
My next receiver in this specific lineup, because I have obviously alternate where we can go here, and that's going to then change the rest of the lineup, but not by much. I like Mike Evans for the third slot.
Okay. A lot of good reasons to like him this week.
Yeah, exactly. It's the matchup. The fact that Vincent Jackson is done, even though he was only getting 5-6 looks a game, nothing major, not making him really
couldn't get downfield.
Mike Evans' production. But anyone that he's only had one game where he got single looks. He's getting 12, 11, 14, 18 looks a game. So
that was week 1 too, I think.
What's that?
That was the first week of the season when he was not in double-digit looks.
Right.
Yeah. So as the season's gone on, I think his rapport, his connection with Winston has continued to grow as it should. These are two guys that are supposed to play together for a long time. He is the focal point of that passing game, no doubt about it. Especially, you look back at the targets, and we've talked about how much